Are you not entertained? I mean, honestly, how can you not be? Just when you think that the world of college football can't get any crazier, another week comes around and proves us all wrong. Week 11, guys, of college football was, again, an unbelievable weekend filled with big-time upsets, filled with big-time victories and performances, and big-time games that answered a lot of questions when it came to not just conference races, but the college football playoff race as well. And today, guys, we are here to break down every single big-time moment from Week 11, and of course, take a look at how we did on our expert picks. So welcome back, guys, to the Gridiron Expert, here to break down another wild weekend of college football. We are halfway through the month of November. Only 2 weeks remain in the month of November in college football. 2 weeks remain in the regular season. Things are really starting to heat up, and we saw that this last Saturday. Of course, guys, as always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks right here on our whiteboard. Our expert picks over on the gridironexpert.com. For a full 365 days, you can access these expert picks. So if you're like, why would I buy expert picks in November? The season's almost over. Well, there's still a lot of football left to be played, including every single bowl game. And it's 365 days. You'd practically get it for the entirety of 2023. And why would you want to miss out on spread picks that are hitting 62%? 61.9, 70 and 43 against the spread. Didn't have the best of weeks last week. We said, don't worry, we're going to bounce back in a big way. We did just that. 7 and 3, 70% against the spread this weekend. 70 and 43 overall. 75.7% on the money line. 28 and 9 this week. Brings our overall record to 355 and 83. We always say our goal is to hit 75% or better on the money line. Right now, we're hitting over 81% on the money line. And that's rank over 80% at least is going to stay over the course of the entire rest of the season. 81% on the money line, 61.9, practically 62% against the spread. You're not going to find picks for that and picks like that anywhere else. Picks as good as that anywhere else. And you're not going to find a price as low as what we were providing for you anywhere else. Go check it out, thegridironexpert.com. Start winning with us today and become a part of our GE Nation. So let's dive into the action, guys. Real quick, 2 major shout-outs. First, let's give a shout-out to Vandy. Come on. And that's not even a sarcastic clap. Genuine happiness for the Commodores, who took down number 24 Kentucky, 24-21. I mean, who saw that coming, right? Vanderbilt ended their 26-game SEC losing streak. They had lost 26 straight SEC games, snapped it on the road against a top 25 opponent, one that shouldn't have been ranked, but still had a number beside them, took down Kentucky 24-21 with a game-winning touchdown with 32 seconds left. Clark Lee, emotional after the game, so happy for his team. Such a big moment for him in year 2 with the Commodores. Now sitting at 4-6. A bowl game, not likely, but to end that streak and to build that momentum and chemistry heading into next year, a job well done by him, and what a moment for that Vanderbilt program. Another major shout-out real quick to UConn. The Huskies are going bowling for the first time since 2015. They took down Liberty, a Liberty team that beat Arkansas last week, took them down 36-33. The Huskies are now 6-5. They have 6 wins. They're going bowling for the first time since 2015, and he won't get it. But Jim Mora should be considered for Coach of the Year to take over what was one of the worst programs in college football, turn them into a bowl team in his first year with the Huskies, and what was thought to be a major rebuilding process. I mean, a job well done. So congrats to Vanderbilt, congrats to UConn. They deserve some early shout-outs here. Now let's get to the big games. Number 9, Alabama, surviving number 11, Ole Miss, 30-24 in Oxford. This game was huge for so many reasons, guys. I mean, the first thing was, the storyline was, is Alabama really going to drop a 3rd game this season? Is Alabama going to lose a 3rd game in the regular season? It would have been a shock for all of us. But also for Ole Miss, this game was huge. Ole Miss needed this win to keep their SEC title hopes alive. LSU took down Arkansas earlier in the day. Ole Miss knew they needed to win this, and if they lost, LSU would clinch the West. That's exactly what happened. LSU survived Arkansas. Ole Miss fell to Alabama despite Ole Miss leading 10-0 early on. Despite Ole Miss leading 17-7 nearing halftime, they allowed a key touchdown at the end of the first half. Alabama cutting it to 17-14 right before halftime. The game was tied entering the 4th quarter. Bama hit 2 field goals, and Ole Miss drove all the way to the Bama 14-yard line, had a 4th and 16 from the Bama 20. Their pass in the end zone fell incomplete, and Alabama survived. So a thrilling game, guys. A game that lived up to the hype. A game that proved that, once again, Alabama is mortal. They're not going to make the playoff. They're not going to make the SEC championship game. They're clearly mortal. They lost to Tennessee. They lost to LSU. They struggled on the road here against Ole Miss. But the guy who doesn't seem to be mortal at all is Bryce Young. 209 passing yards, 3 touchdowns was the reason that Alabama was able to win this game. The spark, of course, he gave his offense, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, played a dang near flawless game against Ole Miss. But again, a game that literally came down to the final play. It was fantastic to watch, a great game. Credit to Ole Miss for giving Alabama all they have. Ultimately, the Rebels fall just short of a SEC title berth, potentially, as well. LSU and Georgia in the SEC championship game. Who would have thought that would be your SEC title back in the preseason? Crazy stuff happened in Oxford. Real quick, shout out to UCF. That was a game that was underrated, guys. Top 25 matchup and a game that could decide who gets the New Year's Six bowl berth among a group of 5 teams. UCF traveled to number 17 Tulane, and the Knights won that game 38-31. A Tulane defense that had been doing so good, such a strong defense, led them to an 8-1 start. Best start since 1998. The Green Wave allowed 468 yards in that game, including 336 on the ground. The offense committed 2 turnovers. You don't want to give the ball to UCF when they're running all over your defense. Tulane had no answer for them. And despite battling back from 17 down and cutting it to 7, Tulane, every time they needed a stop, they couldn't get it. That Green Wave just couldn't get it. So UCF and Gus Malzahn, guys, they are now the front runner to get the New Year's Six bowl berth among a group of 5 teams. Still a lot of football left to be played. They still got to win the American. Maybe against Cincinnati. Maybe against Tulane again. Who knows? But UCF right now is the front runner. And they look dang good against this Tulane team on the road, we should add. How about this? Another crazy upset. We're not touching on every game. We're touching on the biggest ones. One of the biggest upsets, and maybe arguably the best game of the day, what happened in Eugene, Oregon. Number 25, Washington, who just slipped into the rankings after beating number 23, Oregon State, back in Week 10, went on the road to Oregon, the number 6 team in the country. And if you watched our video, guys, we loved Oregon in this game. We thought Oregon would win this game. Oregon has dominated this rivalry series. What's it been? 15 of the last 17 meetings that Oregon has won over the Huskies. Well, now it is 15 of the last 18. Washington pulled off a stunner, beating Oregon on the road as 14-point underdogs, beat them 37-34. This was a battle between the number 1 passing offense in the country in Washington and Oregon's number 117 passing defense. It's a bit of a mismatch there. But a lot of us, including myself, thought, okay, that's not good. A lot of points are going to be scored here. Bo Nix and Oregon can match that step for step. You factor that in there, plus home field advantage, I still like Oregon. And they didn't have any answer from Michael Penix, who threw for 408 yards and 2 touchdowns. But this game, guys, to me, was phenomenal. 7 different lead changes, over 1,100 yards of offense between the Ducks and the Huskies. And it was crazy because Washington was amazing through the air with Michael Penix. Oregon was amazing on the ground. The Ducks had 312 rushing yards, but it ultimately came down to 1 rushing play. 312 rushing yards, 1 play that determined the entire outcome of the game. Late in the 4th quarter, guys, Oregon had a 4th and 1 on their own 34. The game tied at 34. Dan Lanning choosing to go for it on 4th and 1. Noah Whittington took the handoff, slipped in the backfield, went down. Washington took over on downs, ended up kicking a field goal, and then stopped Oregon down the stretch. The last-ditch Hail Mary falling way short. Errant pass by Bo Nix, and Washington survived. You can't help but wonder if you're an Oregon fan. First off, what happens if you pick up that first down? Do you go on to win the game? Secondly, what happens if you just punt the ball away? You're so deep in your own territory. The risk was so high there. If you had punted the ball away with very little time left, would Washington have won the game? Could the Oregon defense have gotten a stop? Would we have gone to overtime? So many what-ifs. Ultimately, guys, Washington won this game in shocking fashion and ends Oregon's college football playoff hopes. Many thought that if Oregon could win out, they would make the college football playoff. Now Oregon could still win the Pac-12, could still make that championship game, but their playoff hopes are done. And the Pac-12 playoff hopes could come down, possibly, to next week when USC takes on UCLA. USC seems to be a big, strong front runner to make the college football playoffs. The committee still respects them a lot. If they're able to take down UCLA, could the Trojans get into that Final Four? Have to wait and find out. Just add it to the list of controversy, add it to the list of topics to discuss over these next few weeks. But Oregon is done, just like, unfortunately, we have seen from them these last few years. Last week, Utah ended those hopes for them. This year, it was at the hands of their rival in Washington. Wow. And then finally, guys, the last game we do want to touch on here. Number 4 TCU beating number 18 Texas on the road 17-10. And arguably, for me, the best performance from TCU all year. Yes, I know they beat Oklahoma in dominating fashion. I know they beat Oklahoma State. I know they beat, they beat, who else did they beat? They beat Oklahoma State, Kansas. They beat Kansas. They beat Kansas State. They had some great wins, right? This, to me, was the best performance from TCU because it showed they could win in a very different way. Low scoring, 17-10. They had a scoreless first quarter. They only led 3-0 at halftime. They only led 10-3 entering the fourth quarter. But this TCU defense, that hasn't been great all this year, stepped up big time. They stepped up big time on the road as a 7.5-point underdog against a strong quarterback in Quinn Ewers in Texas and a strong running back in Bijan Robinson. And this TCU defense held Texas to just 199 yards on the day and just 28 rushing yards on the day. Unbelievable. To go on the road against a good Texas team that I do think was worthy of their 18th ranking, go on the road to a good Texas team to shut down that offense in their house and then get stifled a little bit offensively and still find a way to win and not even allowing a single offensive touchdown. Keep in mind, Texas's only touchdown was off a fumble recovery for a touchdown. No offensive touchdowns allowed by TCU's defense. That was arguably, to me, the best performance that we've seen from them all year, and that was a statement victory. A statement victory for TCU to say, hey, we know the committee put us at number 4, but we are here to stay. Now TCU's remaining schedule includes a game at Baylor, who just got crushed at home by Kansas State. They had to play Iowa State, and then a Big 12 championship game against who knows who could be. Could be Kansas State again, could be Texas, who knows. But if they win out, they're in the playoff. And it looks very likely they could do that. Unbelievable performance from TCU. To me, the box score doesn't look that attractive, doesn't look that great, but to me, this was the best performance from TCU that I've seen all year long, showing they can win the game with their defense, they can win a game when their offense gets shut down a little bit, they can win a strong game on the road against a healthy team. What a win by Sonny Dykes and the Horned Frogs. Give them their respect. They are playoff contenders, if you didn't already know. So what a week, guys, in college football. I mean, you got to love it. You got to love it. Like we said, are you not entertained? Every single week, we sit here and we say, what a weekend of college football. There's no way the next week can top this, and it consistently does. Next week seems to be a little bit lackluster. We're saying that now. I'm sure when we come back with a recap next week, we're going to be talking about how crazy it was. There's still a lot of football left to be played, a lot of questions left to be answered, but you have to enjoy Week 11, guys. Upsets galore across the board, some affecting the national stage, some not, but that is the beauty of this beautiful, beautiful game that we love, college football, guys. Hope you enjoyed Week 11. Hope you were able to take advantage of our expert picks. If you haven't, you got a lot of time to sign up for them. College football and NFL. Postseason's right around the corner. We have a lot of picks left for you. Go sign up for those today, guys. But once again, we want to thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Continue to like, continue to comment, continue to subscribe. Help us build our brand and become a part of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.